Hi guys. Sorry about my hair. Worked out with my son, showered, and I need to get to a barber. It's all over the place. But hey, wanted to share some information about Chapter 2 on strategic planning. So first of all, talked about this a little bit in Chapter 1, but every business in order to succeed has to have a value proposition, sometimes known as a USP or unique selling proposition, or maybe a competitive advantage. And basically, what we want to figure out for our organization is, why do people want to buy from us than somebody else? So, what is something unique, distinctive, that we have to offer better than anybody else does? And so that's sort of what we need to focus on. Because again, if you're not any different than anybody else, why do people come to you? Now, your USP or might be, hey, we're the best price around, or we're the highest quality, or we provide the best service. Um, and maybe you don't provide the best service, but you provide pretty good service, and maybe the best in the area where your business is located. So it's pretty important, to focus on, what is your compelling case? Why should we buy from a business versus its competition? And again, going back to, benefits need to exceed the cost to the customer. So I'm fine paying $50 for something, but I better be getting at least $50 worth of value or benefit for giving up $50 and the hassle of, going to the store or wherever I'm doing. Okay, so Chapter 2 is a lot about a strategic plan. So every business should have a strategic plan. And, essentially it's your business plan. And think of, like, if you were to build a house, you don't just go get some wood and nails and a hammer and show up at the job site and just start, putting wood together and, sticking things in the ground. You would do some planning ahead of time, right? You would hire an architect, and they would design a house for you. You lay your plan out, and then you execute your plan, and then that's how the house is built. So we want to run a business the same way. We don't just go ahead and, well, let's figure out what product we want to make tomorrow, and let's call the radio station and get an ad on there. We want to plan this out before we actually execute, to figure out what is the best thing to do. So planning is good, and that's what this chapter is all about. So we'll talk about marketing plans in a little bit, but for the strategic plan, essentially, you're trying to put down on paper, what does our business look like, and what do we want to accomplish? And once we have a good feeling about that, then we can go ahead and start executing that plan. So two things to know, that when we're putting our strategic plan together, we need to look at two factors. We need to look at internal factors and external factors. So the internal factors are things that we can control. The external ones are important, but we sort of need to react to those, and maybe hopefully be proactive in anticipating what's happening outside of the firm. And so I'll go into a little bit of detail on both of those, but the point I want to make is that it's not only important what you do. You need to offer the right product. You need to sell it at the right price. You need to promote it properly. You need to distribute it properly. And you have control over all those decisions, which customers you try to pursue, and all sorts of things, which type of media you're going to select. And we can say yes and no to any of those things. So it's kind of cool, because you do have control over that. But if you're looking at the success of your business, you also have to look at things outside of your control, outside of your business, that are really impacting you. And those are the external variables. So, for example, a few things would be like competition. What is your competition doing, and how are you going to respond to that? You have no control over what your competition chooses to do. If they want to raise their prices, they're going to do it. But don't ignore what they're doing, because that may change some of the actions that you want to do. You have no control whether the government tightens up regulation in your industry and you have to abide by that, or if they loosen up on regulations. You have no control if the economy tanks or the stock market crashes or it goes crazy in an upward direction. But yet those factors can impact your business, sometimes even greater than what you do internally. So quite often, for most products in marketing, most products out there, they tend to go with the market. So if the market is good, the economy is good, your business is probably just going to come along for the ride. Not everyone, most businesses do well when the economy is strong. You know, when people are employed, there's a lot of economic growth. People have money, people are confident. And so even if you have like a mediocre restaurant, you're going to probably see an increase in business when the economy's good, just because people like to spend money. Now, when the economy goes down, even if you have a great company, you're probably, in most cases, going to suffer in your business. Not as many customers are going to come by. Stay with our restaurant example. Look at the COVID-19 thing. I mean, there's great restaurants, but they're suffering because, the governors have said, hey, people got to stay home. So they're in trouble. And it wasn't anything that they did. They didn't cause the virus. They're just subject to these external variables which are impacting their business. So, lesson number 1 for this chapter is realize there's things that you can control and things that you can do. And then we got to be aware of what's going on outside of our company and then make decisions about how we react to that. Or if we anticipate some of these changes, what are we doing to prepare to, for these good or bad things that can happen? Okay. So, and that's probably a really good precursor to what we want to talk about in this chapter. So your assignment, I asked you to prepare a SWOT analysis for a company. So SWOT stands for SWOT. S is strengths, W is weaknesses, O is opportunities, T is threats. And if we break that into 2 parts, our strengths and our weaknesses, those are the internal factors. So when we do a SWOT analysis on our company, we're going to look for the S part. We're going to look at what are our strengths right now? What do we do well? We're looking at the present, right? So do we have a high quality product? We either do or we don't. If we do, it's a strength. If we don't, it's a weakness. Do we have a great brand image? If we do, it's a strength. If we don't, it's a weakness. Do we have highly trained employees who provide great customer service? If we do, it's a strength. If we don't, it's a weakness. And so when we do the strength weaknesses analysis, we are examining our business as it is today and saying, what do we do well? Strengths. What do we not do well? Weaknesses. And then we can make decisions about what to do there. It's like, oh, well, we should leverage our strengths, or we should work on some of our weaknesses, or, well, that's something we don't do well. It's not worth trying. Let's just not go after the market that values those things that we don't really do well. And on the opportunities and threats, those are the external factors. So opportunity, that's focused on the future, where strengths and weaknesses is on how do we look today, May 16th at 9:48 p.m. Okay? Doesn't mean it's always going to stay that way, but that's what we are looking like today. Opportunities and threats is future oriented. So what we're doing there is we're saying, what is coming up in the future? Sorry, my eyes are got a lamp here. I'm trying to, looks like my eyes are kind of, I don't know, maybe that's okay. What are we looking at in the future that could be a good thing for us? Those are opportunities. So that might be, hey, it looks like the government might pass some legislation which is favorable to our business. Boom. And once they do, we should offer a new product. That could be an opportunity. Or we just got wind that a big competitor is going out of business. Maybe there's an opportunity to capture their customers. So good things that might come about because of something happening outside of our firm, whether it's new technology, government regulations, something with the competition, and we're kind of looking for those things that might occur outside of our company that we could capitalize on. And then the threats is just the opposite. What's something out there that we don't have control over, but might hurt our business? So take a lot of those same examples and just flip them around. Maybe a new competitor moves into the area. Maybe Walmart starts selling the same product we're selling, and they're going to be tough to beat. Maybe the government's going to pass a law which is going to make us spend $100,000 retooling our machines to make sure that we're meeting standards that we didn't used to have to meet. So all sorts of things there. And we want to be aware of what's out on the horizon that might hurt our business. And then we can sort of plan and react to that. So if you do a thorough SWOT analysis, that is a great assessment of where you're at right now and what looks like it could be possible seeing trends out there in the world. And so that's a really great place to start when we're making our strategic plan. From there, we can develop a mission statement. We can develop objectives and strategies. But, we can, a SWOT analysis is a really great place to start because it gives you a good snapshot of where you're at and what's possible. And then we kind of want to build around that. So that leads us to the next part is, by the way, there's a video, and I'm going to attach an updated one, but in your book, and it's Did You Know? And it kind of makes a comparison back between 2000, I think, and 2009. But I wanted to upload another one that's, I think, closer to 2020. It's just a lot of facts. Like, did you know out of every 8 seconds, I think 4 babies are born in the United States, but 11 babies are born in China and 17 babies are born in India. And so it just gives you a lot of trends, which is kind of, that falls into the opportunities and threats. What are the changes that are taking place in our world? As a good marketer, you can't just look at what happened the last 5 years and what are we doing now. You have to plan for the future, right? We do business in the future. So, it's great that everyone wants to use their iPhone today, but what if in 5 years, iPhones don't exist anymore because there's some better device out there? Maybe it's a little earpiece you just stick in and then you don't have to hold this thing. And, I don't know if you guys have heard of these things called Google Glasses, but it's kind of like a computer in your glasses and you can talk to it and it'll bring up like a computer screen and you can see it right in your lens. So those things are kind of cool. Mixed reviews on those. Some people love it. Some people are like, nah, I can't see it. I'd rather just have my phone or whatever. But we got to keep, it's important to kind of know what the trends are and things like that. So watch that video. I think you guys will find it interesting. It talks about how, 10 of the most popular jobs today didn't even exist 10, 15 years ago. Wow, that's crazy. So now let's get on to the mission statement. Basically, your mission statement, every company that's professional really should have one, and most companies do. It's our statement of purpose. It sort of speaks to the world about who are we? What are we all about? And, a good company doesn't want to try to be everything to everybody. That doesn't make sense. Usually then you try to please everybody, you end up pleasing no one. But you got to pick your niche. A company like 3M, they hang their hat on innovation. That's what they do. They may not provide the best customer service. They might not offer the least, the lowest cost product, but they focus on innovation and they attract customers who are looking for cutting edge innovation and who maybe don't mind paying the extra bills for it. You look at a company like Amazon. I mean, their mission is efficient delivery of your products, right? And that's what they focus on. Amazon doesn't really make anything, but they deliver it. And so this mission statement, there's a lot of, the book talks about it, but there's things that you should think about. One, it should be brief. If your mission statement's a page long, nobody's going to know it or remember it or read it. Some companies have a mission statement that's 4 words long. Some have it in a paragraph. It's up to you how long you want to make it. But some people say, your customers, your employees, and your stockholders, everybody should know the mission statement. So if it's longer than 10 words, what's the chances people are going to know it? They're not going to remember it. So that's the argument for a short mission statement. And the thought is if you know what the mission statement is, then you always know what the company is about. And, employees, if they're wondering what they should do, go to the mission statement. If what I'm being asked to do doesn't line up with their mission statement, it's probably the wrong thing to do. So it's important to spend time making up the right mission statement for your organization. And we want it to communicate what we're about. We want it to be motivating, and we want people to remember it. And so those are some of the good characteristics. So that's another part of your assignment. I'm asking you to create a mission statement for a company. I'd like you to pick just a popular company out there, not take their mission statement, but let's say McDonald's. What do you think their mission statement can be? You can look at what it is, but that's not what I want. I want you to say, what do I think McDonald's mission statement should be? And if it's close to what they have, I'm okay with that. But I just want you to have fun, be creative, create a mission statement for an existing company, and then defend why you did it that way. Maybe talk about some concepts, some words, what you really feel like is the most important thing about that company. What are their core values? What are they trying to communicate? Okay, so and again, so we start with the SWOT analysis. From that, we see, well, what we're about, what we do well, what we don't do well, where we might be going. And then from there, that's a pretty good place to say, what should our mission statement be? And mission statements can change over time. We don't want to change them every week or every year. But sometimes the world shifts and our company shifts. And it's appropriate to modify your mission statement sometimes. There's no problem with that. But you want it to be lasting enough that people can rally around it, and then you can build plans around it. Develop that mission statement, and then now we need to move to the next part of strategic planning, which is objectives and strategies. So it's great to say, McDonald's, if they're a mission, or let's say Disney World, if their mission statement is to provide wholesome family entertainment to people throughout the world. Okay, fine. That's a great statement, and it does help. But then we got to get down to brass tacks. What are we going to do? And so that's where your objectives come in. And so you can talk about, okay, we're in the amusement park industry. We're in the movie theater industry. We want our employees to be happy and knowledgeable. We want to generate a return on investment of 15% or 20%. So you get a little bit more specific, kind of flesh that mission statement out. It's like, okay, well, what does this mean? So if 3M is about, innovative, cutting edge company bringing newest products to, corporate America, fine. But then it's like, all right, well, then how does that happen? And so some of your objectives might be, well, we want to be a leader in the aerospace industry, or, we want to have the best and the brightest engineers in the world. I'm not here to tell you what your objectives should be, but you need to decide what they are. And again, that takes some time to work through that. We look at different companies as some emphasize quality, some emphasize service, some emphasize speed, some emphasize cost, some emphasize relationships. And you can actually do several of those. But if you try to say, there's no company where their mission statement is going to be, we provide the best products and services to everybody in the world at the lowest cost with the fastest speed. And, you take the best of every possible thing. Well, sorry, you're not going to do that. When you provide great service, guess what? That costs money. And in order to make money, you're going to have to charge more. So if you're going to be about high quality and great service, then you shouldn't be the lowest cost provider. That just it's not going to happen. Walmart, great example. They want to be a very low cost provider, and they are. They buy in bulk. They have very efficient systems. But what does Walmart lack? They've got the door greeter, which is nice, but it's kind of a hectic environment. You probably don't have as many people, maybe knowledgeable, friendly people taking care of you, like you might see at a Nordstrom's or, a high-end store, a Von Maur or whatever. So you can't be everything to everybody. But objectives, figure out what you want to be. And then, objectives go kind of from general down to specific. So we might say, okay, as an objective, we want to have, the most knowledgeable employees in the industry. Great. then let's break that down. Well, what does that mean? Okay, well, maybe it means that all of our engineers, have master's degrees in engineering, or they passed this certification test, or maybe as a company we are, ISO. Well, it started off at ISO 9000. I think it's now up to something else, but we are ISO XXXXX certified. Those kind of things. We are a Malcolm Baldrige Award winner, which is an award you get for quality. And so you have to start defining those things a little bit more specific. And at some point, you work down into these tasks where it's like, okay, well, this is what I do. So set objectives, general objectives, then get more specific, more specific. You kind of want to work them into where they're either SMART goals or SMART objectives. SMART standing for, it's an acronym for specific, measurable, achievable or attainable, realistic or relevant, and time bound. And so basically most goals, if you really want to know, if you want someone to accomplish something, be specific and put a deadline on it. So we can say, well, hey, we want to be the number one company in the world. What does that mean? How are you defining number one company, and when are you going to do it? So that's a great objective, but we've got to get to where we're saying, what does that mean? So when you get down to, we want to exceed $50 million in sales in fiscal year 2021. That might be your definition of being a market leader. And then at the end of 2021, I can tell you, did you do that? Let's look at your sales sheet. Did you sell that many? And if you did, you achieved it. If you didn't, you didn't. So even when we set goals in our life, that's a good objective. You wouldn't say, I want to be a fast runner. It's like, that's nice, but what does that mean? Maybe you think being a fast runner is, I will run a marathon in under 3 hours and 15 minutes. That's my definition. And I'll run it by, 2022, March 31st, 2022. Well, you will know if you achieve that, because on March 31st, 2022, did you run a marathon? And if you did you beat the time of 3 hours and 15 minutes? If you did, achieve your goal, you can call yourself a fast runner. So in business, it's really good to do that. We don't want to tell people, hey, try as hard as you can. Like, well, that's nice, but did you hit sales goals? Did you, for quality, is your defect rate less than 5%? Those things are important. Okay, so objectives and is what you want to do. Strategies is how are you going to do it? So after we set these goals and objectives, then we need to set strategies. Well, how are we going to achieve that? So let's go back to our running example. You want to run a marathon in under 3 hours and 15 minutes by 2022. What are you going to do to make that happen? I would hope you would work in some running workouts. You might run hills. You might do some tempo work. You might do some speed workouts. You might hire a personal trainer. All these things. You might have some intermediate goals, like, okay, well, I'm gonna run a half marathon at that pace, and then I'm gonna blah 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 blah. So businesses do that too. Maybe I want to hit 10 million in sales in the consumer products division by the end of the year. Great. Well, I might have a quarterly goal. What did I do by the end of March? Maybe I'm a third or a fourth of the way there. So we just want to be specific in thinking about those things. If you want to hit sales goals, what are you going to do to achieve that? Well, maybe I need to hire 7 salespeople by the end of February. Maybe I need to send these 7 salespeople to a sales training workshop in March. Maybe I need to hire personal assistants to assist the salespeople. Maybe I need to put a plan in place where the salespeople have to make at least 40 calls a week and record them in our database. And so figure out what these action steps are that you think are going to help lead to the achievement of your goals. And so that's kind of what this is all about. Okay. Later in the chapter, they talk a little bit about ways to grow a company. And if you look at the chart in there, they talk about, there on 2 dimensions, you have customers and, products and markets. And so the first strategy is market penetration. So what that means is we're going to go to our existing customers and we're going to try and sell them more of our existing products. We're not going into a new area, and we're not developing new products. We're just trying to get the guy who drinks a 12-pack every week. We try to get him to drink 2 12-packs. That's market penetration. Then you have product development, and what that is you try to go to your existing customers with new products. The thinking being, hey, someone already likes me. They like my products. If I give them a new one, they'll trust me. They've had good experience with me. So for example, if you are an Apple computer, you have a MacBook. If Apple were to come to you and say, hey, we think you should buy our Apple Watch. At one time, it was a new product, and they went to all their current people. And the people are like, I love my MacBook. Of course, I probably would love an Apple Watch because I like Apple products. So that's a strategy in which we can increase our company by going to the people who trust us and love us and give them something new that we haven't given to them before. Then you have the strategy of market development. And this is where we go into new areas that we've never been into before with products that we've already been successful at. So at one time, McDonald's just sold they started out in California, right? And then they started spreading around the United States, and then eventually they spread around the world. Well, whenever McDonald's took their store into a new state, a new city, a new country, that's market development. And so that's a way to grow their business, right? If people in California like a burger, fries, and a shake, why wouldn't people in Georgia like it? And it was a really successful model, and it worked. And then the last one of the strategies is called diversification. And that's where you you develop a new product and you go to somewhere you've never been before. And you can do that, and it can work. It's a little bit risky because you're selling a product you've never sold before, so you don't have a lot of credibility, and you're selling to people you've never sold to before, so they don't really know you or trust you. So it's not that we can't do that. It's just harder and it's riskier. So most of the time, looking at the grid, people, if you can do market penetration, do it, right? Don't have a new product and don't have a new customer. If you can just get people to use more of what you're using. Back in the 70s, Minute Maid had a slogan. It was they ran a bunch of commercials that orange juice it's not just for breakfast anymore. So they were basically trying to get people drank orange juice for breakfast. It made sense. They're trying to say, orange juice is a great snack. When your kids come home from school, give them a shot of vitamin C. It's refreshing. It's cold. It's nice. Instead of drinking Kool-Aid or pop, why don't you give them some orange juice? It's healthier. And so, they basically got people to drink more orange juice because they're already drinking for breakfast. Now they're going to drink more of it in the afternoon or at night or whatever. And then, of course, from there, companies usually either go product development where they're, existing product or new products to their existing customers, or they might take their existing products to new markets, market development. That's usually the way it goes. And then you could get to diversification, but every time you develop a new product or a new market, then that kind of goes back to where, back into market penetration, because now they're existing customers, and then you could just do it again and again and again. I'm not sure that makes sense, but so another thing chapter talked about was different ways that we can grow our businesses. So you probably heard some of these terms. Not sure if you know what they mean or not, but you can franchise your business. Actually, McDonald's did that. So Ray Kroc sort of was the founder of, McDonald's brothers founded the company. Ray Kroc brought it and tried to grow it. His way of growing it was to say, hey, you want to own your own business? I will sell you a McDonald's franchise. So basically, you pay me money for the right to sell McDonald's goods. I'm going to tell you how to do it. You follow these basic rules. You can still make some own decisions. I'm not going to tell you to hire 4 people or 5 people for your shifts. You decide what, but you've got to, the hamburger's got to be this size. The French fries have to be cooked for X number of minutes. You have to have golden arches. And so he sort of sold them what we call a turnkey operation. For the longest time, I heard that term, but I didn't know what it meant. The idea is you give someone a business plan, and as long as they read the manual and follow the directions, they turn the key, the business will start. And so with a franchise, a lot of people are like, I know McDonald's, they got a great product, a great system. I don't know if I could invent that on my own, but if I buy the rights to it and I read the manual, sure, I could be a McDonald's owner. And a lot of people have been very successful because of Ray Kroc's model, and it works. So lots of franchises, right? All the fast food places are franchises. 24-hour fitness, that's a franchise. Someone came with this concept. Hey, have this kind of equipment in, make your environment kind of look like this. This is what you should charge for fees. Blah, 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 blah. We'll help you with the website. And you get support and you get direction. And then these people run a business. They'll pay royalties into the franchise owner. And then, that's a way for the franchise owner to grow big. Ray Kroc couldn't run 1 million or whatever, $100,000 stores on his own. But if you brought in 100,000 partners as a franchisee, he could grow. Licensing. This is where you sell your brand, your trademark, and you let someone else sell under your name. So if Nike decided they wanted to, didn't want to make any more sweatshirts, but they would say, hey, you want to make sweatshirts and put a swoosh on it? Meet these quality standards, sell it, and then give us a percentage of your profit. So that's another way to grow. You can do a joint venture where you partner with somebody else. Maybe they have some expertise or knowledge or familiarity with customers or a country, and so you do it together. Share the risk, but also bring together more knowledge. You can contract out management services or manufacturing. So you can have outsourcing. You can have someone else do things for you. That's another way to grow your business. And we can also set up operations, in another state or another country. It's called direct investment. And that's another way to grow. When we look at strategic planning in businesses, it takes place usually at 3 levels. So the first is a corporate level. This is the overall level. Great example would be General Electric, big conglomerate. And so they have some overall strategies that every division of GM kind of, is in agreement with certain things. I would say one thing about GE, or I meant to say General Electric, GE, is that regardless of the businesses that they have, number one, they want to be pretty high quality, and they want to be market leaders. So they even have a grid basically that says, if within 5 years of opening up a business, you aren't number 1 or number 2 in the industry, we're going to sell you off. We only want to be the top 1 or 2. Other companies are happy to be in the middle or even at the bottom, but GE says, no, that's not us. And so they are going to change that value for any particular business that they own. That's kind of at the corporate level. Then we have strategic business unit, or SBU. And then for General Electric, you might have the power division. You might have the banking division. You might have the appliances division. You might have the jet turbine engine division. And then they will develop plans, and they might look a little bit different. They'll agree up with the corporate, but they might have some different strategies in terms of customers they're going after, maybe the return on investment objectives, and lots of other things. And then we get down to functional planning. And so some of the big functions in business are, most businesses have marketing department, a finance department, a production department, engineering department. And then we set up plans specific to those areas. So all of those things work into the strategic plan. Last thing in this chapter to talk about are a couple of examples of portfolio analysis. Kind of hard to explain over the video, but look at the Boston Consulting Group, look at the GE grid. And to summarize, what I would say is, when we look at the different products or businesses that we have in our portfolio, we want to make sure, let's see. These are 2 models. The Boston Consulting Group basically says you have products that fall into 4 areas. You either have question marks they're all question marks at the beginning. So a product that is just being offered from a new is a question mark. It may be super successful. It may bomb. We're going to try it. Now, if the product dies out, it's gone. If it stays, it becomes a star. And the star, we're realizing some growth and some potential. And we're going to, have products there. And if it can, if it makes it to star, it's probably going to go to the next phase, which is a cash cow. And pretty soon now we have a great reputation. We're selling a lot. People like what they see, and we're making a lot of money. And then eventually we're going to move into the dog stage, which is the decline. So it sort of mirrors the product life cycle. Every product will start, we don't know what's going to do, and it'll either fall out or it'll get better, and it'll get really good, and it'll start to not grow anymore, but it's solid for a while, and then it'll phase out. And so what we want to make sure is that we always have question marks feeding the pipeline, because the stars and the cash cows will eventually become dogs and leave us. So we got to, when we use the Boston Consulting Group matrix, we're sort of looking at, do we have products in the pipeline, and what do we need to do to make sure, because our cash cows are what's generating our profits. Our stars are they're doing well, and we see great things in the future for them. The dogs, we got to figure out how to sell them off or get rid of them, because the future's not looking good. And we need to keep bringing these question marks in and trying to find our next stars and cash cows. The GE matrix is sort of, it takes a look at the different products or businesses that you have, and it evaluates them based on strength of the industry and strength of the business. And the GE philosophy is, if we have companies that are really strong in terms of how they, against their competitors, or they're in a really good industry, they want to keep those and continue to invest in those. If we have companies that aren't competing well, or they're in an industry that's weak or has a bad outlook, we want to get rid of them. And if we have companies in between, if we think we can bump them up, get more efficient with their business, or the industry has a strong outlook going forward, we might hang on to them and invest them there. They could go either way. And so that kind of ends up with chapter 2. So I did this on a Zoom recording. I think it might be better than the WebEx. We're going to find out. But I look forward to posting this up soon for you guys. So, and I'll come back with chapter 16, talk about a marketing plan here in a little bit. Thank you.